I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. So with my word, I declare that we are here, that we are open, and that we are ready to receive to the degree that we can encompass. So that I know for each one here that they can encompass a lot, that when they sign into this meeting, that they are able to fully take in, fully understand all of the concepts and all of the ideas that are present in our teachings, which allow us to have our own experience of the divine, so that we may move forward through our experience of life, knowing that we are one with it and that we are protected and that all is well. So I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is.
So it is.
I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive.
Good morning. I'm John Heron. I'm the spiritual director of CSL Princeton, the Center for Spiritual Living, Princeton. And welcome here on a Sunday morning. And I know that if, as we teach, our universe individually and as a group reflects back to us who we are, our own consciousness, boy, my consciousness is blessed because I'm looking at a bunch of beautiful faces, a bunch of people who have chosen for their Sunday morning, rather than, as I sometimes say, rather than sitting with a bagel and a schmear, you've chosen to come and get the message of our divine presence. And so, who are we, CSL Princeton? We are a loving, healing, and inclusive community which teaches and practices the principles of the science of mind for the well being and spiritual growth of ourselves and of the world. And so, being here together, we are the presence of peace. We are the presence of love today, each one of us and all of us together as a group. And today we have the really wonderful blessing of having Reverend Christina Tillotson as our speaker. I don't have her bio in front of me, but Reverend Christina is a dear friend of mine. And she was for many, many years the dean of the online university from the Holmes Institute, taught several generations of ministers and practitioners and other people, and is a master teacher. I know that. And we are really blessed to be able to, through this technology, have people like Reverend Christina speaking to us and sharing their wisdom. So I'm very grateful. Thank you, Christina, for being here with us today. So next Sunday is what we call a Practitioner Sunday, which simply means that our practitioners, who are people who have committed to the practice of this teaching and have been practicing it for quite a while, it's a Practitioner Sunday. All the practitioners together are bringing their wisdom and each section of the service will be done by a different practitioner. So that's always a wonderful opportunity for us to share the truth that we know, and also for you, if you're not a practitioner, you're not necessarily part of our center, um, for you to get an opportunity to really hear what this teaching is about. And the subject for next week is, what are you accepting as truth? It's an opportunity for reflection as to what we consciously or unconsciously accept as true about ourselves, about others, and about the nature of reality. It's going to be an opportunity to examine our inherited or habitual beliefs and ask whether they align with our understanding with truth with a capital T, our spiritual reality. And the Sunday after that, we have Reverend Karen Kushner. And the Sunday after that, Reverend Michelle Wadley. And after that is me. So we really have Sunday morning is a wonderful time to reconnect with who you are as a spiritual being and how that spirituality connects with your everyday life. Wednesdays at noon, we have a peace meditation run by our practitioner, Susan Niedt, who is our practitioner of the day today. She's going to lead the spiritual practice for us a little later. You can find out how to get it. It's on Zoom. You'll find it on our webpage, cslprinceton.org, or you can find it on our Facebook page, which is CSL Space Princeton. And that's Wednesdays at noon. And it's just 10 or 15 minutes long, and everyone is welcome. You become the presence of peace in the world by participating in this kind of meditation. After the service today, we will have available what we call express treatment. That is affirmative prayer by a practitioner for you if you have something going on in your life that you would like some spiritual support for. And if you would, then you can stay at the end of the service after Reverend Rich sings his wonderful song at the end. We'll announce that express treatments are available, and we'll send you off into a separate room with a practitioner. So again, welcome. We are blessed to have you with us. You're blessed that you are focusing on your spiritual nature for this time. And thank you for joining us.
Lean into love, let spirit flow. Infinite presence is all that we know. Mind creates soul, think it true. Love is here in all that we do. One with life, one with grace. God in action, time and space. No more fear, no more lack. Love means forward and never back. Lean into love, let spirit guide. Truth within, there's no need to hide. Power, peace, and joy divine. Infinite love is forever mine. Lean into love, let spirit flow. Infinite presence, all that we know. Mind creates soul, think it true. Love is here in all that we do. Mind creates soul, think it true. Love is here in all that we do.
Thank you, Reverend Rich. My name is Susan Niedt. I'm a practitioner here at CSL Princeton, and I'm going to lead you into a guided meditation that is designed for us to really step into the recognition of our oneness with God, each other, and the world. So let's start by finding that quiet space, closing our eyes if that's available to us, and just starting with our breath, knowing that that breath is the breath of life, and that that breath is God in action in our wonderful spiritual bodies, expressed in human form here and now. So just feel that life within you and acknowledge it as that one living Spirit Almighty. And I will speak in the first person often that we can take these words as our own. As we experience this living breath, we affirm, there is one life. That life is God, Spirit, the divine, the thing itself. But it is life. And that life is omnipresent, everywhere present. And if God is everywhere, then there is nowhere that God is not. Not separate from me, not separate from anyone. I am in God and God is in me. I feel God as my blessed breath, as the source of my life. So breathe into that idea. I feel God as my blessed breath, as the source of my life. And as I breathe into that idea, I let that awareness deepen. I recognize what already is. A quiet union, a constant presence. And as I realize that presence within me, and since it is everywhere, I recognize that same presence living in all, every person, every mind, every life. Expressions of the one living Spirit Almighty, the one infinite mind. The same life breathing in me is breathing in everyone. The same intelligence guiding me is guiding all. Let that idea repeat softly within you. The same presence guiding me is guiding all. And as we sit in this quiet space, I invite you to carry this awareness throughout the service, throughout the day and onward, knowing I am never separate, not from God, not from life, not from others. I am one with God. I am one with all. I am one with God. I am one with all. And as we sit in this space, I speak these words for each one here in recognition of this living Spirit Almighty, in recognition of each one's union with this one loving, living Spirit. And I know that each one is feeling the blessing of knowing this presence, of knowing that each one is an expression of this divine, loving presence. And each one is experiencing that guidance, that inner knowing. And as each one is present today during this wonderful celebration of this teaching, each one receives what each one came to receive, and each one leaves inspired. Each one is opening to divine guidance, embracing their truth, and moving forward in the recognition of this blessing, this life. So with gratitude, I release these words, and we can all say together, and so it is.
So it is.
And so it is.
There's a silence in the morning when the stars still linger low, and I sit there with my longing for a truth I've yet to know. Not a whisper, not a thunder, but a stillness drawing near, where the heart begins to wander and the soul begins to clear. I'm diving deep where the currents run slow, where the dreamer meets the doer and the river starts to flow. In the chamber of the heart, where the seas of wonder grow, I'm diving deep into the all I've come to know. So I'll rise with my devotion to the work and to the flame. Let the winds of pure emotion carve a fruit I will not name, for the flow is ever guiding like a river knows the sea, and the art is in the finding of the love that flows free. I'm diving deep where the voices are all still, where the quiet paints a vision and the pulse begins to will. In the garden of the mind, love is shaping every hill. I'm diving deep, and the world begins to fill. It's not a gift that's given, it's a song that's never sung, a melody eternal in the air and on the tongue. Creation is a prayer, not for pleading but for praise. It's the fire in the artist and the dawn in all our days. I'm diving deep in the wellspring inside, where the silence turns to color and the soul forgets to hide. In the stillness of the source, I no longer need to try. I'm diving deep in the heart that paints the sky. I'm diving deep into the heart that paints the sky.
And thank you, Reverend Rich. And this is the time I'm going to introduce Reverend Christina Tillotson. We are really blessed to have Reverend Christina speaking with us. Reverend Christina has an incredibly broad experience as a teacher of the science of mind. She's also a teacher of Tai Chi Cha, I know, um, and has been teaching that for many years. She was the dean of the online aspect of the Holmes University, which used to be our uh, teaching institution. And she did that for 18 years and taught many of the people that we know. Um, and she's a dear friend of mine, as I said before. So it really is an opportunity for me to introduce her to you. And I'm looking forward to her talk. Reverend Christina, it's all yours.
Thank you, John. It's such an honor to be here from Cardiff by the Sea, California, sending you lots of ocean energy. And I'm really honored to be here in community with you, whether you're here in person in real time or whether you're watching the recording. And I'm grateful for this technology that allows me to connect from beautiful San Diego County. Years ago, my civil servant late husband led a Defense Department team that led to the technology that created the internet. And the civil servants at the Defense Department actually created the internet back in 1969. So I'm just grateful to all of them that allow us to be here. So before I begin exploring the power of thought and guidance in community, I'm curious, in case I'm guided to change what I plan to say about all of you, but after that beautiful meditation by Susan and that beautiful song by Reverend Rich, I don't think I need to say anything, but I'm curious. I know that we've got one person who's a ministerial student at Seaside with us here. Hi, Maggie. But I'm curious, how many of you have been in this teaching for quite a while? If you'd raise your hands. Okay, great, thank you. And how many of you are fairly new or brand new? Anybody? Okay, thank you. That's helpful. So I want to begin with a story that I'm going to read to you word for word. I didn't understand the meaning of it at the time, way back then, but it quietly shaped everything that followed. It takes place at the Ohio State University in May 1970. I wanted to belong. I jumped at the chance when a group I desperately wanted to be part of invited me to a Vietnam War protest at Kent State University. It was just 2 weeks before the May 4th, 1970 tragedy, when the National Guard opened fire on protesting students. 4 were killed and 9 were wounded. But during the long ride, I was determined to be cool. As a lifelong introvert, which I still am, and often an outsider, which I am no longer, I longed to be included. I was curious about hallucinogens, and when a male friend I had a crush on handed me a sugar cube, I didn't hesitate. I placed it on my tongue and let the sweetness slowly coat my mouth, feeling like it was spreading through my whole body. Soon the world morphed into brilliance. I saw halos around the driver, energy streaming from light poles, and colors dancing in the trees. The white lines of the highway shimmered. I didn't know exactly where we were, but I felt lifted into another dimension. The protest itself unfolded like a dream. I don't remember any of it. But when we returned to the car, I began to settle back into myself, still glowing with awe. I thought I'd had a breakthrough, my first LSD experience. Back at Ohio State, my crush told me it was just a regular sugar cube. No LSD, nothing. My trip had come entirely from my own mind. I flushed with shame as tears streamed down my face. Humiliated, exposed as naive, not cool. As I curled up in my nook in the townhouse I was renting with 4 roommates, the old ache of not belonging crashed over me. All of those high school feelings of unworthiness returned in full force. And yet, beneath the sting of embarrassment, something else stirred. If my mind could create that kind of vivid, transcendent experience without any external substance, what else might be possible? I didn't recognize it then, but that experience was my first real encounter with the power of our minds to shape reality. Years later, I would understand it more fully through this spiritual path. It deepened through technology as I witnessed people connecting across time zones and cultures, drawn together by shared intention and energy. And that same consciousness that had colored the trees that day would later infuse online meditation rooms and digital communities with its sacredness. If you've ever questioned the power of your own awareness, your ability to shape your experience from within, you're not alone. That experience at Kent State left me humbled, but beginning to awaken. No sugar cube required. That story comes from chapter 6 of my first book I'm writing called Digital Souls, Weaving Lost Spirituality and Technology to Transform Your Life, which will be published one of these years, but I'm not pushing it. But what stayed with me from that experience long after the embarrassment faded wasn't the spectacle of the experience, but the realization behind it. My mind had created an entire reality. No substance, no external cause, just belief, just my mind, and a longing that shaped that experience. I didn't have the language for it then, but I was having my first real encounter with a profound spiritual truth. Consciousness is creative. Our thoughts create a reality. That experience didn't make me wise, but it started to awaken me. Have any of you ever experienced something in your mind that didn't turn out to be real? Anyone? Raise your hand. Yeah, yeah. I think all of us have at one time or another. That sugar cube taught me something essential about the mind, but it didn't teach me how to use that idea in my life. I learned that years later when I discovered this philosophy, faith, and way of life at the Napa Church of Religious Science in California way back in 1982. And since and because of that, I've learned that our thoughts are not passive, they're not neutral. They shape how we experience our world, and often before we realize what's happening, and often subconsciously. It's about recognizing the power we are always living inside of, the power of our thoughts. As Susan so beautifully reminded us who we are in that beautiful meditation. And what we teach, of course, you all know. How many of you have taken classes? Science of Mind classes? All right, so you know all this stuff. So I'm going to remind you anyway that that we are all expressions of that one. And as such, our thoughts are as powerful as the thought of the energy of spirit God. Snookum doodles for all Ernest Holmes cared when he said that a long time ago. Whatever it is that created that universe, our thoughts are that powerful because, as Susan so powerfully reminded us, we are one with that. And as you all know, we're part of the New Thought ancient wisdom movement, along with unity and divine science and others. And back in the mid 1800s, and the transcendentalists, when this philosophy started to be born, they were taking a new thought about religion, but we are taking a new thought about our lives. We can take a new thought about whatever's happening in our lives and our worlds because our thoughts are so powerful. From this thing called You by Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder, which is my very favorite self-help book, and it's foundation of one of our certificated Science of Mind classes. and it's called This Thing Called You. It was written in 1946. It's a very, very first self-help book that was ever written. It was a bestseller. And he said, God created you after his own nature, and there's nothing else he could have made you of. Then the thing you are after is already here within you. The only things that stand between you and it are the accumulated thoughts, beliefs, and emotions of the ages. What thought is done, thought can undo. The mental patterns laid down in your subconscious throughout the ages can be consciously removed. And in our philosophy, we're always saying thoughts are things. So we need to guard our thoughts. But how do we know that our thoughts and our beliefs, all these things that we're thinking all the time, come from that divine energy of spirit that we're always within and of, or coming from our own egos? I could create a whole class about guidance, and a whole several talks about that. But here are a few tips. And this comes from 365 Days of Richer Living by Raymond Charles Barker and Dr. Ernest Holmes. And I read it every night before I go to bed, along with a whole bunch of other things. Some people who are morning people do it in the morning, but I do it at night. But he talks about divine ideas. He says, divine ideas appear in our consciousness, and we make right decisions with ease. Then he goes into an affirmation. Every question in my life has an answer, and every problem has a solution. I turn in thought from that which seems to be to that which really is. Divine intelligence working in my mind knows exactly what to do. I accept this inner guidance and follow its instructions. Then I've learned that guidance has a felt sense. When I know I'm being guided, my breath softens, my shoulders drop, and there's less need to convince myself or anyone else of what I'm thinking is real or not. But it doesn't mean that fear disappears. It just means that it isn't in charge. And it doesn't remove the challenges, but it gives directions within them. And it asks, what matters now? What's calling me forward? This guidance shaped how I walked through the sudden transition of my husband at the age of 54. It shaped the support that surrounded me way back then, and it shaped the next steps of my life in ways I could never have planned. I was so grateful that I was part of this philosophy when that happened. That night, by the way, I got the call to ministry, so the rest is history. And that was another piece of guidance. It didn't tell me how, but it prepared me for what was coming. And Mark Nepo captures this beautifully in a single sentence. To listen is to lean in softly with a willingness to be changed. To be changed. But how do we get changed? How do we get changed for that guidance and to change our thoughts? And many of you have experienced that in community when you come here to Princeton, the CSL Princeton, to be in community with each other, or when you take classes, or when you have practitioners praying for you, either in person or silently when you're not even with them. But that's that community that can take us all of these ideas into our world and transform our lives in our world. And we're designed to be in community with each other, even for introverts like me. And we have communities like you. We have the community of all of Centers for Spiritual Living throughout the world. We have 800 centers throughout the world that even if you don't realize it and you don't experience, you are part of that. You're in community with, and we're not only in community with them, but we're in community with all of New Thought, with divine science, with unity. We're in community with everyone. The word commune means to share deeply, to connect, to be in harmony. And Brene Brown says, Connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment. How many of you can feel that here in CSL Princeton? You feel that sense of community here? I trust you do. I love those hearts. Yes, yes. So we are so wired for community that even our biology is an expression of that. It's in our DNA. Our cells that were created from the stardust of the universe, which is another talk in a whole other class I teach, but we're so connected that Bruce Lipton says in The Biology of Belief that 2.4 billion years ago, the life was only single cells on this earth, just single cells. And the environment was so horrible and so challenging that in order to survive 250 million years ago, something guided them to starting to get together. So the single cells started forming multi-celled organisms, and then it evolved into plants and animals and us. So we are actually created in community with ourselves, with all of nature, with each other. This human community of about 8 billion people, as Dr. Wayne Dyer, the wonderful author, I hope you've read him. If you haven't, I highly recommend it, says that community is the foundation of all meaningful change in the world. In the community, we find courage to face our fears, the strength to overcome our challenges, and the love to heal our wounds. And community is where we learn to love, to forgive, to be kind, to be compassionate. And this country and this world has experienced that a lot lately. We've had the fires in California and the floods and all kinds of weather, the East Coast where you are. But why do we feel such compassion in such challenges, even if we don't know the people? People coming up to help strangers and volunteering for food and helping to rebuild houses, and when they don't even know them. It's because we're all so connected, even if not consciously. We're connected with each other. And so we are guided to go out and do whatever it is we need to do, whether it's giving money or just being there in consciousness and praying for whatever's going on, knowing that the presence of God is flowing through whatever that situation is. Sometimes it takes challenges to show how connected we really are. But what if we stayed in that consciousness of community and connection and didn't need tragedies for that to happen? I'd like to see a world like that. In quantum physics, there's a principle called resonance. And that occurs when two systems vibrate at the same frequency, amplifying the energy between them. Where two or more align their energy through shared thoughts or actions or intentions or collective energy doesn't merely combine, it multiplies exponentially. In Matthew 18:20, if you're a Bible person, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am with them. That means the energy of spirit is there. And in this principle, a quick explanation is, say I have 2 units of energy, and John has 2 units of energy, and we're together. So 2 plus 2 is 4, but it multiplies. 4 times 4 is 16. So then we put Susan in the mix, and that's 6 times 6 is 36. And we put, who else is here? We put Rich in there. That's 8 times 8 is 64, and on and on and on and on to infinity. That's the power of resonance. That's the power of being together, whether we're together in person, whether we're together online, whether we're together not even in real time, because your practitioners pray for you. And sometimes I have a practitioner who I talk to every week, but I know he's praying for me all week, and he doesn't have to pray for me when I can hear him, because I know that energy of my community with him is there. And so you're in community with all all of the people who are supporting you, whether you know it or not. I love to take classes. I'm 79 years old and I would never not be in a class. I teach classes, I take classes because I want to be in the community of classes. Now that I'm writing a book, mostly I'm taking writing classes, but I would never not be in that class, in some kind of a class whether it's in real time or not in real time, to feel that connection of community, because that's what helps me grow and be creative. And so I trust that all of you are taking classes, whether online or in person. It's the same universal energy. I experienced that same universal energy in the first online foundations class I taught in 1998, after trying to convince United Church of Religious Science for 3 years that they ought to let me teach online. So I taught it in 1998 in dial-up in a chat room, before we had video, before we had what's available now. But we felt that same universal energy, that same community that I'm feeling right now with all of you. But it was in dial-up in a chat room. So that same universal energy that Susan had us meditate about, it's always there. It's always there. John said, I also teach Tai Chi, moving mindfulness meditation. And a week ago, yesterday, was World Tai Chi Day. And they had people, practitioners of all kinds of Tai Chi and yoga and all ways of moving that energy through our bodies, minds, and spirits, all millions of people practicing it during one day. And I did it alone by myself outside in my home. But I felt the energy and community with all of those people. So that's the kind of energy that's available to us at all times, whether we're here by ourselves, whether we're with other people. And we also have the energy of people who have left the planet. I've got a story to tell you. This is my last story. Don't worry, it's my last story. So I was in Egypt with 14 other New Thought ministers led by the amazing Reverend Dr. Kathy Ann Lewis. And the first day, we were supposed to go to the Sphinx in Cairo. You know, the Sphinx and the great big, I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of it, but the great big paws that are walls twice as high as I am. And I'm not a morning person, as you know. But at 5 a.m, we had to go and sit and meditate between the paws of the Sphinx, these big walls. And I'm sitting there in my yoga pants, and it's wet and it's dirty. And I'm thinking, why in the heck am I here? I want to go home. It was the first day. But then she had us stand up and put our foreheads on the wall. And when I put my forehead on that wall, it opened a portal. It opened a portal to all of the people in my life who have passed. My husband, 2 of my sisters, my parents, took me all the way back through my grandparents, some ancestors I didn't even know about, all the way back to my 11th great-grandfather that I'd been reading about online, who was the Archbishop of Canterbury in the late 1600s, and whose writings founders of our nation like Benjamin Franklin and John Adams and John Quincy Adams actually used and honored. And then it expanded to all souls who had ever left the planet. And I realized that I'm always in community with them. And then it expanded to all of the people who are all still on the planet. And I realized that energy of community is always there, even if I'm sitting here in my house, not even wanting to see anyone or talk to anyone. That energy of spirit, of community is always there. And of course, the energy of God, as Susan so beautifully reminded us, and Rich so beautifully reminded us in a song, it's always there. So we're never alone. Loneliness is a big issue in this world right now, but we're not ever alone. We're always with that energy of spirit, with the people who have passed or people who are here. If we open ourselves to it, we can't get away from it. We're always swimming in it as us, and we can choose to ignore it or not. That so we've got the communities of our bodies, we've got the communities of everyone who's ever lived, got the community of spirit. If I want to tune it out, I can. And if I want to do a pity party and be lonesome, I can do that, but I don't have to. We can live in that power of community whenever we choose. We can't get away from it. And when we choose to live in that power of community, then we can understand that we're all walking each other home, as Ram Dass said. And here are some of the things that I've learned in conclusion. First, our thoughts and our beliefs and our consciousness are all creative. We're shaping our experience from the inside out far more than we realize. And secondly, we can tune into divine guidance anytime we choose. And thirdly, we can grow and change our lives and our world most effectively and for the better in community. So I invite us all here at Princeton CSL and everyone who's watching the recording to contemplate how will we consciously find ways to grow in community in this center, in this world, and allow our thoughts to create a life not only that works for ourselves, that works for everyone. So please say these affirmations after me. My thoughts create. My thoughts create. I am guided.
I am guided.
I am guided. We are all walking each other home. We are all walking each other home. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be in community with you this morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now back to Reverend Rich.
Thank you so much, Christina. What a blessing. What a blessing.
Thank you.
So we typically, if we were in person, would do our gratitude ritual now, and we would pass the plate, the symbol of abundance. And since we can't do that on Zoom, I thought I'd lead you in a little gratitude meditation. And we know that gratitude is a spiritual practice, and we recognize that all giving is a sacred exchange. So this is our cup that overflows. Can you make your cup overflow? It's a symbol of all the blessings that we have. I will admit I feel a little bit like Oliver Twist. Please, sir, can I have some more? But there is always more, right? So that's a symbol of our wonderful plate of abundance. You can relax now, and let's just close our eyes for a minute. And I'm going to speak these words in the first person. I know that giving is a natural expression of the infinite flow of life. Just breathe that idea in. I know that giving is a natural expression of the infinite flow of life. And I recognize the abundance that is within me and all around me. Yes, I recognize the abundance that is within me and all around me. And I allow that flow to move through me with gratitude. So I invite you now all to just take a moment and sit in the stillness and consciously appreciate all the good that is already present in your life. We can affirm, I am open for greater abundance to unfold in this spirit of gratitude for the all good that is mine. And I give freely, knowing that life responds in kind. Each gift becomes an act of faith, affirming the ever-present flow of divine supply. And as I sit here in this quiet space, I recognize that all giving is indeed a sacred exchange. I am blessed. And as we sit here in gratitude for this moment, give gratitude to yourself for showing up today. to learn more, to be more, to step into a deeper understanding, and send that gratitude, as Reverend Christina so lovingly explained, to each one of us, for we are all one. And all that you have, I have, and all that we have, everyone has. It's ever present. So I invite you to put your hands on your heart and send that gratitude to each one here. And then outward to the world. And bring yourself gently back to the space. And I just wanted to let you know, whether you are here or watching this later, that if you go to our website, cslprinceton.org, you can donate, you can give lovingly, so that our center can still continue unfolding in the most blessed way via PayPal, credit cards, or you can even mail the dinosaurs that they are check. And the address is on that website. And thank you all for being here. And now I invite our beloved Reverend Christina to do the closing treatment.
So tuning in to that exquisite presence of spirit that's everywhere, through and as all of its creation. That one that spoke the universes into form, that one that is always there in divine love and creativity and in divine right action and in divine wholeness. There's only that one. And that is who I am right here and right now. And each person who is here in the sound of my voice is, whether in real time or on the recording, each one is a perfect expression of that light and that love and that wholeness and that peace of spirit that created this world. Each one is a creator in each life. And so I'm knowing for each one here that each one, as God, every word that each one speaks is the word of truth, is the word of God. It's the word of wholeness, of peace, of joy, of love in each life. And I'm knowing as I speak this word that peace, love, joy, and wholeness flow through each life here, each life who's listening to, watching the recording, and spreading out into the world as light, as love, as peace, as joy, as harmony. That harmony that sings throughout all of universes starts right here, right now, through each one here. And so I just gratefully accept this life and love and harmony and joy as the truth of each one here. As I release this word to the law, knowing that it's now done in peace and light and love and joy and abundance and harmony. And so it is.
And so it is.
Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. I said, guide my feet while I run this race, 'cause I don't want to run this race in vain. I said, I'm a child while I run this race. I said, I'm a child while I run this race. I'm a child while I run this race, 'cause I don't want to run this race in vain. 'Cause I don't want to run this race in vain. 'Cause I don't want to Thank you, Reverend Christina.